The next thing I'd like to show you is about billing templates. And I'm going to, so why would you use a billing template? Well, a billing template will save you clicks. And it's really a fine line between sort of how many clicks you want to save and how sort of editable the billing template wants to be. So I will show you if we go into templates. And if you don't have access to templates, it's because you haven't got those permissions. So you would need to either ask somebody else to create them or ask your admin to give you access to templates. Once in template management, we would go to bills and we're going to create a new template. So there's this new icon here. We click on this and it opens this new bill template window. Few points to note here. We obviously need to give this one a name. So in this instance, I'm going to create a time code for LFP. So let's say this would be a clinic time, and this would be, let's say we're going to call this direct. So I believe the code is 98010. You can obviously name this how you like. Now, it's up to you the sort of edit privileges where you want to give everybody privileges or not, but I would, for the use privilege, I would recommend leaving it open, which means that everybody can have access to it. And by doing that, you don't need to select the billing provider, because whenever the provider is using that template, it would automatically populate their information there. So now what you can do is we would need to put the code in. So here I'm going to create a code. So I'm going to do 98010, and it selects the, I'd select that code, then 98010. And because this is LFP billing, we would then go and do L23 for the diagnostic code. So these are pre-saved. The other elements that we want to pre-save in this particular template are the location code. And we also want to select the facility number. So I'm going to click here, and you can see there's actually the two facilities. There's the one that was previously one there and the one that I have just created. Now, if you hadn't unchecked that billing, it wouldn't appear in the list here. It would actually appear under this third-party insurer. So that's why you need to uncheck that billable on the facility. So I can select the facility. It doesn't show you the number, but the code is assigned to the bill when that's submitted. And then if I scroll to the bottom, we can click Create Bill. And we now have a billing template here for Clinic Time Direct 98010. And it's L23, and you can edit it as need be. You can come back here, and if you wanted to make changes to it. In order to be able to access this, you would want to be able to set as a user favorite. So you can either set it as user favorite or a clinic favorite. So in this instance, I'm just going to set this as a user favorite. And now this means that I can actually use that code when I'm with a patient. And I'll show you how you actually use that bill template. So if I navigate to a patient, and if I go, if I actually right click, and if I choose, we've got a patient, Samwise Ganji, and if I open, and let's say I'm going to add a bill for this particular patient. If I click on bills, and if I click new, this is just going to create a new default billing template. But to use that actual template, I simply right click here, and you can see we've got this template here, and I select that there. And once selected, you can see it's populated the service code, the diagnostic code, as well as the other elements that were put into this template, such as location and facility. So really, when you're saving information into a template, you're really saving clicks. You can include as much information or as few information as you need. You can also edit the information. So even though I've just pulled in the information from a template, if I wanted to change something on it, I can do so. So I can still edit, ICD-9 codes or service codes. It's just a starting place. And then, because this is a time code, I would come in here and you can put in the calls, and you can put in the time. So let's say this is a direct code. So let's say they did 25 hours, for example, and I can click on the time, and I can then edit the time. So let's say this is directly started at 8 a.m. and the 080 and put the AM. And so they did, so because we've got 25 quantity there, they've done just over 6 hours, 6.25 hours. So if I go to 15, actually I need to do that like this, 02:15, and then I can just save that. So we've captured the time there, and then we would just create the bill. So there's still elements that you need to do, but it's a starting place to save clicks. One thing I also want to show you about billing templates is that, so that's a sort of a template that you can use as needed, but it's useful to have the default billing template set up for user whenever they create a standard bill. So in this instance, let's create another billing template, which would just be set as the default for that user. I'm going to go back to templates, and I'm going to go back to the bill section, and we're going to create a new template. So this time I'm going to click new, and this is really going to be the default for that, potentially for that user. It could be used for the clinic. So if I just going to go, let's call this DOBC default. And really, again, like you want to make this available to everyone. And in this instance, most likely, if this is an LFP clinic, for example, typically you're going to have the location code. So I would save the location code for the clinic. I would also select the facility. So those are sort of defaulted. But if there's rural retention that you want to include, you can select rural retention code for the area that you're in. You can save whatever elements you would typically use for a standard bill at your clinic. But for now, I'm just going to leave everything else blank. So we literally have the location and the facility pre-populated. And so we don't have to think about adding those each time we create a bill. So I'm going to create this bill now. And so we now have a new one called DOBC default. And if you want to, you can create this as a favorite. But I'm going to show you now, once that bill is created, let's set that for the user's profile. So in order to do that, we would go into the profile icon in the top left. So if I click there, it will open my profile. I can navigate to templates. And then this is where you can set all your default templates. And in this regard, we're looking at bill. There's already a default bill set up, but I can change this to the DOBC default that I have just created. And then I can save and update the profile for this user. So whenever I just click on plus new when creating a bill, it will always use this as the default. And so it will always populate, in this example, the location code plus the facility code. So that's always, rather than having a completely blank bill every time you start, it's really helpful to have, some of the settings that you use every single time. And if you're an admin user, and you're doing your staff, you can also you can update the templates for a user. So you can go into the user list and you can select the user, for example. So you could go in here, select a user, and then you can go into their templates and you can select the default bill for them as well. So you can do your own, and if you have admin access, you can set bills for other users as well.